Together we'll conquer, no limits apply. Eclipse rising, shining so bright. With delusion leading, we'll conquer the night. Together we stand, in battles we fight. In Imu dark Apache, our future is right.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am Delusions, and today we are back on track with the Road to Mastery series. As you can see here, I'm no longer an ENE DK or even an ENE DL. Instead, I have finally, at level 318, gotten my first class change card out of the Mysterious Merchant, and as promised, I went ENE Elf. So, with that being said, we've got a lot of stuff going for us, and I think that you are going to really enjoy this powerhouse of a class when it comes down just to raw damage output towards bosses, or even in Corpse. It is just insane. Um, I've only gotten to play around with it in Loop Recall so far, as well as Corpse when it comes down to PvP, but we do have Arena today, so please keep your eye out for the video coming out on that. But with that being said, as always, when we get back into the Road to Mastery series, we are doing all of this to educate and to understand this class fully. So with that, I've thrown together a little bit of a build for the time being, as well as um, modified my stats a little bit, picked up some extra skills. Um, the only thing that I really have left to do before things get really crazy and hectic is save up about 2 million garnets and start redoing all of my sets. But we'll touch on that here shortly. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take a brief overview of the stats that we currently have. We're sitting at 172.03 million CP. But as you can see, we've got a pretty good chunk of attack here. 2.46 million to 3.69 on the max. My defense is well into the 1 million mark. Attack speed's right on up there at about 750. Now, once everything starts triggering properties, skills, and such, then you'll start to see that rise up a little bit more. This class itself is built around high defense success rate, as well as the skill damage and for the dead hit rate. So as you can see, we can move down a little bit. For our skill damage, we're up to about 1,233%, as well as our decrease is down 1360. But our increased damage is up to 1,380%. So this is going to help out tremendously as we start diving into guild bosses and any other kind of PvE content, just because of that raw damage that we're going to be able to provide. But with that being said, as we start making our way down here, you can actually see that our dead hit rate is up to 75.77%. Now this could easily go higher. Again, it is going to be one of those things that's going to be kind of capped out towards the back end. It's going to function somewhat similar to how the critical rate progression goes. As you can see, we're just stuck at that 89.9% there. So we're really nearing the cap on the critical rate. But our crit damage increase and decrease are both sitting at a good percentage, I would say, for right now. 80.96 defense ignore, so that is going to come in handy once we start diving into the PvP aspect side of things. And then the rest of this stuff is just kind of minimalistic and not really needs to be focused on. Once we go into our stats, again, we want to prioritize being able to equip our third tier set or our third set of gear, because anything after that is going to be all the same, and that's when our gear starts providing all of our stat points from that moment on. Now, I am still in the testing phase of all of this, so you could see me potentially drop this AGI stat down um, about 123 points and then allocate that into ENE just to be able to kind of maximize on some of that damage. I don't think it's going to be necessary because again, this class is a powerhouse when it comes down to putting out raw damage. Um, but we can also go through. Let me just go ahead and get rid of this because it's going to bug me. And take a look at some of our skills. Again, you know, we are trying to work towards maxing all of this. Looks like we will be able to next month once we're able to pick up some more skill upgrade cores. I still have a tons of upgrades to do on my end. Um, but this is where we're setting at now. So everything maxed other than the first two skills here. So arrow shower and multi-shot are not maxed out. I would like to pick these up, one for the extra cooldown and the extra skill damage coming in off of arrow shower, as well as picking up this final uh, upgrade on multi-shot to give my character 6% chance to double the skill damage and increase chance to activate weak spot attack to 3%. So this right here will be kind of capping us out on our critical rate. Um, so once I pick that up, and then again, I could potentially go through and I could reset this back down to 1, but again, I wanted to pick up that crit chance there. So it's a bit of a toss-up to see what we need to really prioritize. Now, as we start talking about skill resets, if I was to reset, chances are I am going to be losing some of these bigger skills. There's really not a whole lot of um, clarity since I already had them unlocked. So we'll go into here. We'll take a look at the last bit of the AGI skills down here towards the bottom. Well, actually, I don't think that I will be able to because I will be relying on Hurricane Shot once we get off into PvP. Again, this is going to require 1051, so I don't think that I'm going to be able to stray away from that. But with that being said, I should be able to go ahead and just um, wait until that 800 class change to pick up on some of the extra um, damage coming through. But just to, since we've got this support here, we'll go ahead and take a look at what the damage rate looks like and how fast it's going to ramp up. I was very impressed uh, with how it played out yesterday. Right before Guild Boss was when I changed, so was able to take a look. But as you can see, it starts off and then it just blows up. I mean, we are going up by the hundreds of billions. Um, and throughout Guild Boss, I think that, you know, with the current build that I had, again, there's a lot of room for optimization, and my sets are not right where they need to be for set treasure stuff, but was able to pull in roughly about 40 trillion damage, and I can give you a quick look at that compared to how the rest of the members of my guild are comparing. So we've got a pretty good chunk of damage out of that, and I've noticed that this class really shines in Corpse, just because you're having to bounce around from all of these different bosses, um, 18 of them in fact, so you can kind of pick and choose where you would like to prioritize your time. But if we go into our guild and we take a look at what I did yesterday, 40.61 trillion damage. I do see this going way beyond that once I kind of fine tune everything and get it set up how I envision it. Um, so we could easily see probably 70 trillion damage out of this class, um, with the grand scheme of how I want to progress with this. But like always, you will see me play this class for the next 50 levels to 100 levels. Just depends on when I get tired of it. Again, I will be picking up class change cards, as they become available, and kind of going through and trying to get some builds put together for those classes that I'm missing out on, as well as for the ones that I have not yet been able to cover fully. Um, and you may even see some returning classes as well. But everybody wants to know how the properties are looking. With this being such a high damage output class, I wanted to put a little bit more extra emphasis on the attack tree. That being said, we did the same with the defense. So you've got 183 in attack, 184 into defense, and so far only 63 into common. This will start to grow once I get all my sets and everything lined out. I may do away with common and then jump into element because there is a lot of stuff in here that we can pick up as well. But as we start off through the defense tree, if you are playing this from the ground up, you're not quite at where I'm at currently, what I would recommend doing is just putting the bare minimum into each of these tiers just so that you can hit down as far as you can. Um, and then once you complete this tree, you'll jump over into attack, or you could do this. This is the only time that I will say this. You could do this one of two ways. You could start in defense like we normally do, or you could start in attack down into where you get barrel. Um, so barrel is going to be pretty much your big damage output, um, and you'll see that a lot of these property nodes that are going to be coming through here are going to be benefiting barrel and the soldier. So please make sure that you are understanding this class fully. But like I was saying, two options. You could start into attack until you get a couple of your property nodes for barrel. Then you could swap back over into defense and start working down through there. Once you finish out the defense tree, of course, hop back to the attack and then fill it out. Um, Now you'll notice how typically I am sitting at roughly 170 when it comes down to the attack tree, or 177. And again, this is where I wanted to really focus on the damage that this class is able to put out, um, and wanted to make sure that there was no stone left unturned while we are testing this class out. Because again, I want to try to maximize as much damage as I possibly can to be able to contend in Corpse as well as PvP. Now, later on, as we start getting higher into the 700s, probably around 775 to 780 plus, I will make sure to get the rest of this common right-hand side put together, and then probably jump over to the left side and start picking up some of these attack nodes, um, as well as some of the HP, because I feel like you could really, really gain a lot out of this um, going forward. But Element does have a lot to offer as well. Just like any of the other classes, there is really no wrong choice when you get off into Element. But again, you want to prioritize being able to hit all of these different tiers. So put the minimum requirements in there to be able to pick those up, which realistically, the minimum requirement is maxing them out. Um, but you start to notice that some of these properties and stuff that you're going to be picking up, like this here, upon casting Tidal Summon, 3% boost to soldier and barrel attack speed lasting for 8 seconds. So as we all know, that the big portion of the damage that we get is going to be coming out of your barrel and your soldier. So that is going to be one that I'll be chasing after. But not only that is, when we're looking into the elemental tree, you can pick up a lot of things to really maximize your competitiveness in arena as well as any other PvP aspect of the game by picking up more chance of stun. So when you max out this one here, you've got a 20% chance of inflicting stun effect on target with characters following attack. So as they attack you, you almost have a counter attack to where you are able to stun them uh, for an additional second. Now, on top of every other stun that you'll get from the properties in the attack tree, um, you will be getting a lot of defensives that'll be coming from the defense tree, of course, such as Goblin's Fury 2. So when you're tapping your Energy Elf skill, um, all of it can combine goblins in every status and instantly recover full HP and deactivate crowd control effects. So if you're going up against those Strength Dark Knights that have just super crazy long stuns, you can now mitigate that by using your Goblin's Fury. Now, on the left-hand side of the defense, you also will start to pick up um, your resurrect stuff, but these are primarily buffs that you will get once you hit 0 HP. Initially, you would find yourself dead at that point. It would resurrect you. Upon resurrection, it'll give you 55% damage reflection, so putting you right on par with ENE DK for that short amount of time for 3 seconds. Now, this can be very big or it could be very detrimental, just depending on the class that you're going up against, because again, if you are reflecting damage that is being done to you back to somebody who's also reflecting, you're still going to see a portion of that damage as well. Um, but big thing, so when you're using Blessing of Spirit, all party members will be under evasion. So this right here will recover 30% of max HP, but it will also boost your evasion rate a little bit. But yeah, as you can see, this class is very um, structured around high damage output and survivability. Um, it does have some good stun skills, and we can go through and we can take a look at that now. Um, one of which is going to be Lightning Shot. So it inflicts skill damage to 6 targets and stuns all 6 of those targets. So your group, combat, corpse, chaos castle, castle siege, Chrysos sometimes, you'll be able to utilize this to really lock down some of those higher hitting opponents while the rest of your team can go through and start chipping away at their health. Um, and then you can kind of come back through and be able to take care of that as well. Now, Ice Arrow is another one that you'll get much earlier on. So what this is going to do is it's going to actually freeze the target instead of stunning them, which, what's the difference really? Um, what it's going to do is it's going to lock them in place, last for 2 to 3 seconds, I want to say. So you want to stagger these out when you're using them in PvP. Again, there are a lot of different properties with all of these other classes that will mitigate that first crowd control ability or that first stun. So please keep in mind that you are going to have to pay attention to how you utilize some of these skills. Um, as far as how I have set my skill bars up, going into the normal mode, I wanted to prioritize having a couple of stuns, and then I wanted to make sure that I had um, just something to fill in some of the blanks because again, I'm still new to this. I don't fully know exactly what skills to prioritize on the normal mode to really maximize that DPS. But I went ahead and opted to pick up. Um, well, I guess this is a passive skill, so I don't really need that there. Um, can't set passive skills. Okay, well maybe that's not. Maybe I'm just silly and not putting what I need on there. So I had triple shot, so it inflicts skill damage to one target. So I kept that one on there, but it seems like when we are putting triple shot on something, it really doesn't have a cooldown, so it's almost as in the faster I push it, the more that it's going to trigger. Um, and then I've got um, multiple penetration. So this penetrates 6 targets, inflicts skill damage. Again, we are building around that skill damage as well as that um, defense success rate and our dead hit rate. So we want to make sure that we are hitting as many targets as possible. This might be a good one right here. So we'll go ahead and support this guy real quick before we dive off in, kind of give you an idea. So as soon as I come in, I want to go ahead and summon my soldier. Then, of course, all my other buffs are going to be triggering. I can go ahead and lock down with Storm Shot or Lightning Shot, and that's pretty much all she wrote. But then again, I'm 100 and close to 130 million CP above that player, so I didn't expect to see a whole lot. Um, but you will get to see that in the follow-up video once Arena hits. But going into our Constellation setup, which again is going to be something really big that you're going to want to prioritize because if you're constantly resetting this, it is going to cost you a lot of diamonds. Now, again, we are going to try to prioritize getting that increased skill damage. Um, and then I went ahead and I picked up a couple of attack nodes just to kind of boost that a little bit further. Picked up one defense node just to again boost that up a little bit. But the rest of it went into dead hit rate. So again, we could have gotten a little bit more out of this probably. Um, and then I went into the defense success rate because this is going to be very crucial to really maintaining our survivability. Um, and then as you start progressing much further into it, you'll start to be able to pick up some more defense ignore. And then everything else that you see here is just passively gained just through common levels. Never really had to prioritize a whole lot. As you can see, we are up to 218 stars is going to be our next upgrade, so we're sitting at 217 now. I really don't want to go through all of these because I feel like that is just going to be super, super hard to follow, but I will be working to putting a constellation guide together for this. It is just going to take me a little bit of time just because I've got so much going on currently. But that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the sets and what I would recommend. Currently, I am running all of the Karaji family line up until 7th. So I will be going back through and I will be resetting my 3rd set, my 5th set, and my 6th set once I do have the time because again there is a lot that you can pick up. So primarily if you want a very well-rounded and competitive build for the ENE Elf, as well as being able to perform extraordinarily well in some of these PvE and bossing engagements, you're going to want to run the Vicious um, Vicious line on all of your gear pieces. And the reason being behind that is because you will start to gain a lot of dead hit rate, and you'll start to see that climb a lot higher. You're getting more defense, which is then going to turn around and increase your defense success rate. Um, your decreased skill damage, because again, we want to survive, and everything going in towards the later game is going to be a lot of direct skill damage. So you want to have some way of um, combating that. Now, as we start moving up into our accessories, I would highly recommend picking up the Chiron set. Um, and the reason being behind that is because of this resist control chance. Now, this is going to be very, very beneficial um, in helping us to not be locked down with all of these stuns, but it's also going to give us a bigger increase on our defense ignore. Um, and then if you are picking up cores, I would probably recommend not picking the Chiron side, but then trying to prioritize on the vicious side. That being because it is going to increase your critical resist rate, which, as we all know, that is going to be something that is going to be very crucial in, you know, being a part of that survivability side. Um, for the fourth set, I would still probably go into the Holio, or again continuing on with that Chiron family lineup, um, just because of the defense ignore and the resist control chance. Because the more of this that we have, the less likely that we're going to be locked down to a lot of these stuns, and we can kind of move a little bit more freely, as well as being able to provide some pretty solid damage. But as we start working our way down, we would then want to try to pick up the Starfall set. Um, Again, getting that dead hit damage is where ENE Elf is going to be focused around, as well as decreasing that skill damage, increasing our defense, and increasing our dead hit rate. Now, I really wish that I would have started out with this class just so that I could go through and build all of these up properly. Um, but since I'm not, and I didn't, it's going to be pretty expensive to really to get us up over the hump there. Now, going into the fifth set, we are going to try to pick up the Hecaton accessories. Again, this is going to give us more dead hit penetration rate as well as dead hit damage. Um, and then it is also going to increase our double damage rate if we were to pick up the core for this set. Um, for the gear side of things, we again will probably be looking at this in two different ways. We've got a little bit more options now, and there's really no wrong option once you start talking about the gear side. But if we were wanting to maximize all of our boss damage, of course we are going to want to pick up the Delcra set for the gear. This is going to give us a little bit more HP loss rate, uh, as well as increase our PvE damage by 8% and our crit damage by 8%, on top of giving us a 5% defense bonus, or yeah, 5% additional defense bonus on top of everything. And then if we were to use a core on this one, it's only going to increase that PvE damage further. This is where you're going to start seeing all of your massive 100 trillion boss guild boss damages come from. Um, and then if we were to go into Hecaton, this is going to be starting to build more on that survivability factor as far as our health and stuff goes. So again, we're seeing that HP loss rate increase by 5%, decreased damage by 8%, as well as increasing our maximum HP by 5%, which is going to be huge as we start working into some of the later games and being able to build around that survivability factor. But it's also going to pull in something new for us, and that's a double damage resist rate. So double damage resistance is going to be really big because instead of getting hit once, you're getting hit twice now in these later stages, and being able to resist that is going to help out tremendously as well. And then if we were going to core this, we're going to see that decreased damage get an additional 12%. So total of 20% decreased damage over the whole set, as well as our strike ignore resistance is going to be 5%. Heian, any of the Karaji lineups, they don't really need any explanation because they're really not going to be changing throughout the course of all of this. Um, but as we continue on into the sixth set, again, there's really no wrong issue that I would say, but if I was to prioritize anything, it's going to be Woldor accessory rate or accessory set, being able to again pick up some more of that dead hit and as well as some of this double damage. If we were to go through and core this, going into the gear portion of it, again, you're going to get the same set bonuses as you would see from the previous. So your big options are going to be either Rave or Woldor. Again, you can always spec into the Karaji lineup, or I guess with this current set, it's going to be unnamed, but it's all going to be increasing your PvP damage. But you really don't get a whole lot of survivability out of it. You will get a higher CP rate, but again, that's not everything. Now, once we get off into the seventh set, that's where things you really have a lot of extra play. So you could go into the Suns set and be able to pick up um, more HP loss rate, but you're now introduced to a bigger attack percentage. So with the complete set, you're looking at your crit damage going up 8% and your attack going up 2.5%, which is going to be a big CP boost for you as well as a damage boost. Now, if we were to move down into the Shining accessory set, you're going to start picking up increased crit hit damage, maximum HP growing by 3.5%, and then you're decreasing that splash damage. But if we were to go into the Divine, now we can kind of start picking up a little bit more. And this is where I would probably try to throw my eggs in the basket, picking up more of that defense ignore off of the three-piece, as well as the crit damage boost by 10%, and then you start seeing that resist control chance plus 15% if you were to core this set. So moving into the actual set, you get introduced to accuracy rate. Now, accuracy rate is something that I am still trying to figure out. Of course, the name should be self-explanatory, but then again, when it comes to stats in this game, nothing is self-explanatory. Um, so you're going to be picking up extra defense, extra dead hit penetration rate, off of the gear side. So this is probably where I would probably focus things um, for this particular class. But if we were to go into the Shining set, again, you're picking up more of that resist control chance, more maximum HP, and then more double damage resistance. Um, so there's, like I was saying, there's really no wrong way to build these, and you're going to be able to kind of piece these together over time. Again, coming into what would be the Karaji set, you're not seeing a whole lot of different stats that are going to be filling this, um, with the exception of getting that accuracy rate increased by another 4.5%. So I would have to say, coming into this, it's probably either going to be the toss-up between Suns or Shining, and who knows, I may build both. But again, I need more garnets to be able to do that. Um, I think that pretty much covers everything that we have done so far up to this point. Uh, if you do have questions, if you do see something that I may have missed, if you want to learn more about something in general, please let me know, and then I'll be more than happy to work with you. I do realize that I did not show off the battle mode of this. You can go ahead and just disregard everything that's on here on the bottom because I have not been using it. Um, I have only been prioritizing these skills here. So you've got lightning shot, ice arrow, I think this is hurricane shot, and then strafing shot. Um, those are the main ones that I have been using in PvP, and they have been working out very well. As we start diving into the normal and battle modes, this is what we're looking at for the normal side. Again, I'm still working on all of this. For battle mode, this is what seems to be working out in PvP as of right now. I could probably swap some orders around on some of these things to get things to trigger and proc a lot sooner. But after today, we should have a little bit more of a guiding light to kind of see where we need to focus on our pain points. But again, want to thank you guys for supporting me through all of this and as offering any kind of questions and everything that you've been doing up to this point. Um, Looking forward to continuing this Road to Mastery series with ENE Elf and hopefully being able to provide you guys some really solid gameplay going forward. But with that being said, thanks again, guys. I am Delusions, and I am out.
So raise your sword high, let's claim our fame. With every boss fallen, we'll carve our name.